The last aspect of geometric sequence we'll be looking at is the sum to infinity. So in this particular question, it's about a weight, it's about two walls and a spring that is connected to the weight. That weight is first brought to this point A and then released. And because that spring is very squash, with that force, it pushes that weight to point B. However, with every time, that traveling time of that weight is getting smaller, and we are told that is 4/5, that is the distance. So every previous distance multiplied by 4/4, that's what is geometric sequence. And we were doing the table for each stage. We were, not for each, for the first four, we were calculating that distance travel. So in this particular part, we have to work out the distance AC and AD. So let's consider our drawing here. So what does that AC distance mean? Where it is? So this is that distance here. AC is not the distance that is actually traveled by our weight. So we are moving away from the way the sequence is built before to a different idea. They are pointing us to a different direction. So, well, how do we calculate that AC? So from A all the way to B, that distance is what? 120. And then we know that in the next stage, out of that 120, we only travel 96. So that AC is what is left over, isn't it? So that will be, that distance from A to C will be 120 minus 96, and we put that in the calculator and we get that is 24. Okay, then what about the distance AD? Where is that? That's where we are having. Now, let me just remove this drawing to make it better. So we are looking at this distance and this distance, AD. That's the one. Okay, so what do I know about this distance? So again, I know this first one is 120. I know that this one is 96, isn't it? And then my third distance, that one here, that is 384/5. And then I know that this one here is 24. So I'm saying, okay, 24 plus 384/5 gives me the distance from A to D, isn't it? So from A to D, that will be 24 plus 384/5. Now, how did I get that 24? So that means from 120, I took away 96, and then I added 384.5. Now, there is a reason why I am breaking down like that. When you are dealing with sequence, in order for you to see how the numbers behave, you actually have to write them out like that. Because when you write them out like that, each part separate, then you will see a pattern in how the numbers behave. And again, here we are putting that in the calculator, and we get that that is 108. Okay, next part. So D has two parts, part 1, and then let's have a look at part 2. So that's my part 2. If the weight were to continue moving indefinitely without stopping, it would tend towards the point X between A and B. So what they are saying that if our weight keep on going, and we know it only goes so far, so far, so far, so, isn't it? So there will be some point, there is some point here, we don't know where, let's say somewhere in the middle, I don't know where it is, but let's say somewhere here, and that weight will be going towards somewhere that point. Okay, so what do I need to do here? Work out the distance AX. So I have to find what is the length from A to that point. And they are saying, you know what? Use the formula for sum to infinity in your solution. Okay, so I'm saying formula sum to infinity. That is my A first 1 minus R. Now, this is not the sequence that I've been working with. It's not the one that is built the same way. Let's consider from A to B, that was my first term, and that was 120, isn't it? That was my first term. Now, the next one isn't from B to C, so it's not about the distance travel, but the next one I just done is from A to C. How did we got that? 120 minus 96. And 96 was what? The second term. So I have term 1 minus term 2. And then we've done the next one from A. Every time from A, that's where we are going. From A to D. And that was what? That's the reason why I tell you to write it all out. That was 120 minus 96 plus, and then we added 384 over 5. So that is term 1 minus term 2 plus term 3. Isn't it? That's how we've done it. Now, if we are not sure, if we think we see the patterns, but we're not sure, let's go one more from A to E. Let's consider that movement. Will that make sense? Let's look at our graph. So where is A to E? Let's just remove that so that we have a better idea. So that's my C, that's my D point. And from D here, it will travel a distance to E. And I know that every time that distance is smaller, and that distance is 1536 over 5. So if I was to find this distance here, right? What is the length of that distance? Well, I know that to AC, I've already done that. That's 108, isn't it? So all I need to add to that distance is that small bit. How do I find this small bit? From the previous distance of, let's get a different color, 384.5. We take away distance here, 1536.5, and then we get that small bit. Again, let me write that out. So let's write that here. So 108 plus that tiny bit here that I will calculate by removing from all of that distance traveled. That's how I'm going to get that. So how did I get that 108? 108, that is the distance from A to C. So distance from A to C, 120 minus 96. Then we have, my apologies, A to C is not 100, that's A to D. That distance was what? 24. Sorry, my bad. So 24, and then to that, from these 384 over 5, we take away this distance travel. Yeah? So from that 24, we are saying 384 over 5 minus the next 1,536 over 25. Now, here we can see really the pattern, isn't it? So what is happening? That term 1 minus term 2, why did that disappear? Plus term 3 minus term 4. If I was to go again, that will be term 1 minus term 2 plus term 3 minus term 4 plus term 5, isn't it? And then it will be minus term 6. So we can see the way this pattern is created. So the first term is the same, 120. However, the value of R here is different because what's my first term? 120. What's my second term? Minus 96. Not just 96. So therefore, if we put that in the calculator, we get that R is minus 4 over 5. And now we can do this calculation. So when we put that in the calculator, we get that it is 200 over 3. Now, however, if you are in the exam and let's say you didn't get that right, you didn't get that part, and you use plus 4 over 5. Yes, your final answer is not going to be correct. However, you will get your attempt marks here because part of it is correct. Okay? It was difficult to see. The key here to see was that first part. Okay? So always remember in your exam question that what you are doing in previous part is for a reason, especially when all of them were A, B, C, and then you are hitting D, and D has 2 steps. So always remember that when there are 2 sub parts, this is as if they are taking you in steps to show you the solution here.